Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Thursday, October 31st, 8:47 a.m. Welcome back to the show and happy Halloween. We are here once again to discuss the market. I have an outfit that I'm wearing today, right now. I'm going to explain the outfit because I don't know if anyone's going to be able to get it, but I feel like it's kind of creative and none of the other outfits that I thought about yesterday kind of match to what I wanted to live up to. So I'm just gonna explain what I'm wearing. This is a costume, okay? This is a costume. I get an A for effort on this. I am today a mixture of Jensen Huang with the leather jacket and Alex Karp with the crazy hair. Usually I wear a hat. Today I'm like, you know what? Not gonna wear a hat. Just let the hair go free flowing. Let it do its thing. And then we got the leather jacket right here as well. I didn't have a pure white t-shirt, so I couldn't be like full on Alex Karp. But even then, I think this is more fun because now we have a mixture of two legendary CEOs, entrepreneurs, and founders. So that's my Halloween costume. I thought about a lot of costumes. None of them were that excited. My mom wanted to do makeup on me and like give me like a really scary face. I did that for the OGs that remember in 2022 for Halloween on the Market Open. But like, I don't know, dude. Like a scary face is not that interesting. It's just like a ton of makeup on. It would have looked cool, but it's just like there's no theme to it. So this, I feel like there's actually a theme. It's around stocks. It's around the companies that we love, Nvidia and Palantir. So I feel like there's something that's going on. Indiana Jones. That's what I actually didn't think of that. Indiana Jones. That's a hell of an argument. Indiana Jones on drugs. What I did notice is this ring with this jacket. This is nice, dude. Like this ring has already been looking okay, but now when you put the jacket on top of it, now it actually looks like a combination. So that's what I am. I am Jensen Huang and Alex Karp. I'm not going to wear a hat the whole day, so you guys are going to see me running my hand through my hair to get it out of my eyes a bunch of times today, but that's what I got going on. Now I just need a whip. Correct. Now I just need a Harley Davidson, dude. Now I need that. And then we're really going to have some fun. So that's what we got. Where is the chain today? My uncle says that chain is right here. Yeah, I got to leave the chain out too. I got to play the whole thing. Also, happy Diwali to all my Indians that celebrate. We got Diwali today. We got our entire house that has tons of decorations on all over it. So happy Halloween to everybody. Also, happy Diwali to those that celebrate. We've got a market to open and a market to discuss. So a lot of stuff going on. Number one, we got a new Palantir press release, not a deal, but rather a article / you could call it thesis by Shyam Sankar. He put this out this morning, and I think it's really interesting. It's called 18theses.com. Real quick, we're not going to go through it yet, but this is what the website looks like. It is a manifesto, at least that's how I'm interpreting it, on American defense. It's called the Defense Reformation, and there's 18 theses on how to solve the problems that we currently have in defense. Really, really, really interesting read. I was able to read some of it this morning, and I think you guys will enjoy it. It's kind of Sean basically airing out his philosophy on what it means for the American, the DoD, right, the Defense Department, to actually be able to engage in a process of procurement of software that is meaningful. So that is a new thing they released today. On top of that, we got Michael Saylor, who wants to buy $42 billion of Bitcoin. I was a little preoccupied yesterday because one of my top holdings was down 15%, which we'll talk about in a second. So I kind of didn't get to read into this. And late last night, I actually looked into their earnings call. And yeah, he wants to buy $42 billion of Bitcoin by collateralizing MicroStrategy stock. The same thing he's been doing for the past couple of years, but doing it at a very high level at this point in terms of just taking it to the next level for what they can do with dilution. By the way, they already secured, I think, $21 billion of the money that they need. So we'll talk about that, but that's very important. And that could potentially be a massive tailwind to Bitcoin and MicroStrategy as well. By the way, BlackRock bought $850 million of Bitcoin alone yesterday. So you had over $1 billion of inflows into Bitcoin just from the ETFs yesterday. Coinbase earnings kind of sucked. We'll talk about that. There is a divergence between retail participation and the ETFs. And I think the only reason Bitcoin's going up right now is because of the ETFs, because retail is really not back into Bitcoin, at least yet, based on Coinbase earnings. And then we obviously have to talk about Robinhood. And we'll start off that with our first segment. A lot of thoughts on Robinhood. I spent the night reading the earnings report a couple times, listened to the earnings call again, have some perspectives on it. Some things I missed that were actually really bullish that I just ended up missing during the call. And so we'll talk about that, get into that, and then keep going from there. All right, let's get started. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Would you say writ large? You know, have you guys noticed I haven't said writ large in a while? I feel like I've replaced writ large with other terms that I've been using, but I don't even remember the last time I said writ large on this show. So it's been a while since I've been saying writ large. This is my costume, Julie. Okay, for those that are just joining, I'm a mixture of Jensen Huang and Alex Karp. Alex Karp with the hair, Jensen with the jacket. So that is, but look, that was the most creative thing I could think about. Everything else was just like, it was whatever. This is at least, even though I have to explain it, it's creative. It's creative when you have to explain the creativity, right? Because other people don't get it. It's not your fault as the creative. It's never your fault as the creative. If the world doesn't adapt to you, that doesn't mean you adapt to the world. So even though I have to explain it, maybe you have to walk around with a little explanation of what it is on the jacket. It still indeed is an outfit that deserves recognition and attention. So you're a billionaire. Well, yeah, I guess if you put Jensen and Karp together, that's what, 145 billion. Not necessarily there yet, but that's at least that's what we aspire to with this outfit. All right, let's get started. Let's get Robinhood out of the way and talk about that. So I'm going to spend 15 minutes on Robinhood. I know a lot of people have questions on it, so people can watch this segment when they want to get my entire thoughts on it. And then we'll get into all the other macro stuff. Oh, real quick before we do Robinhood, we did get some inflation data this morning, which is good. It actually helped the stock market. So core PCE, which is the Fed's preferred inflation index, did come in line with expectations, which is really good. So core PCE came in at 2.1% year over year and 0.2% on the monthly, in line with expectations. We have CPI next week. If core PCE is coming in line with expectations, I expect CPI probably to honestly be flat. I would imagine that it's like stuck in that 2.4 range. Now, Wall Street Journal's Nick Timmerose came out with some projections yesterday from what he thinks is going to happen. This guy's been very accurate on inflation. He actually thinks we're going to 2.6. Well, he doesn't think that. He's just like amalgamating a ton of the Wall Street estimates, and he put out the research. If we go to 2.6, that is an acceleration of inflation, and that's not going to be the best. So one thing we got to keep an eye out for when it comes to CPI next week. If we do accelerate, I still think we get the cut, but the Fed might be a little bit hesitant to give us 2 cuts, and that's going to be one of the issues that we have going on. But at least for today, PCE came in at a good perspective and at a good level, and it came in line with expectations, which is good. Uber earnings are down 9% as well. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So after Robinhood, we have a ton of companies that reported this morning, and we will discuss all those earnings. A lot of important companies, all of them pretty much double beating. I mean, Uber double beat. I don't know why Uber's down 9%. They had to have something in their guidance, but the revenue and EPS beat, and not by a little. I mean, these were 2 good beats on EPS and revenue, which is important. Also, I don't know if you guys know about this stock. I think some of you mentioned it in the chat, but Root, this thing's up 85%. Sorry, 91% in the pre-market. 91% in the pre-market. They beat EPS by like $1 or something. Beat revenue by a lot. This is a technology insurance company. It is a small cap, $607 million market cap that just turned into more than $1 billion company in the pre-markets. So if you have this one, congrats. But this one is also down or up in the pre-markets. And then Carvana had the best earnings yesterday. Carvana up another 18% because the used car market continues to explode in popularity. Carvana was $3 in 2022. It's $220 now. So that's what we got going on. All right, Robinhood. So look, Robinhood's earnings were actually very good. The problem is, and this is the reason. This is, I think, the things we learn in the stock market. This is the nature of being an investor. This is the nature of kind of like grappling with the harsh realities of the market. Is that the expectations that the street had, including myself, even though I'm not part of the street, but I am an analyst, and I put out an entire valuation model on the company. We were wrong for one reason that me or Wall Street didn't fully take into account. By the way, Robinhood got upgraded today by JMP Securities to 33. Again, I think the analysts liked the quarter. Their projections were just too high. Now, why were their projections too high? They didn't take into account something called contra revenue. What is contra revenue? Contra revenue is not an expense to revenue. Contra revenue is a discount or promotion that you offer to your customer base, in this case, Robinhood's users, that you have to take off from revenue. It's like it's an accounting argument that doesn't count as an operating expense, which would hit your bottom line, but rather is just a form of money you have to give back because you use that money to acquire this money. Is that technically an expense? Yeah, I don't know exactly how they're differentiating it, but they're allowed to differentiate and then kind of make that adjustment. And so that's what they're doing. So in my estimates, I had lower expectations than what Robinhood put up. They beat me on equities. They beat me on options. They beat me on crypto, or actually they lowered on crypto, but the number that I modeled for crypto, which was 60 million, they beat that at 61 million. So how did they beat my expectations, but revenue came in lower at 637 million when I thought they would get to 650 million? It's because they had a $27 million contra revenue expense. I don't think any of the analysts actually factor that in. Would that be same as customer acquisition cost? Kind of. They're not counting it as customer acquisition cost, but yes, essentially I think of it as a customer acquisition cost because all these big accounts that are coming in, they're paying a return to get these big accounts, which I guess is not a expense because they're just giving them that money back. That's actually how they justify it. So if you bring in $1 million and they give you 10,000, that 10,000 to them is not an expense because it's going right back into your portfolio and you can't take that money out. That's probably why it's contra revenue. Meaning if you could take that 10,000 out, which you're not allowed to do for a couple of years, then that's an expense because it's money leaving them going literally into your pockets. But if it's staying in the brokerage and it's in your account, theoretically, I guess they can justify that as contra revenue. So as a result, contra revenue in Q1 was 13 million. Contra revenue in Q2 was 27 million. Now, I kind of blame Robinhood for this because on their Q2 deck, they never mentioned this contra revenue, or if they did, it was in the fine print and no one cared about it. And obviously, no one cared about it because I didn't look at it and I look at everything for Robinhood and none of the analysts look at it because they had expectations of 657. If I knew they were going to spend 20 million of contra revenue, I would have lowered my expectations from 650 to 630. So would the analysts. And then guess what? They had 637. They would have beat. Like, and this is the funny thing about the markets. It's like sometimes the expectations are premature or ill-advised for a variety of reasons. And as a result, the stock can't live up to that because they're just not going to put up those numbers. And then the market kind of tanks. This has actually also happened, almost happened in Q3 of 2023 with Palantir. Louis DePalma, one of the analysts that hates Palantir, he said, oh, Palantir has these big SPAC revenues, so we should expect 550 million. And Palantir was like, we're only guiding for 513. Where are you getting 550 from? And so a day before the analyst note came out, I remember he was like 550, 550. And me and Arnie were like, but they said 513. Why is this guy saying 550? Like, where did this come from? And that's when we realized, is he trying to like up the stock so that Palantir doesn't live up to the hype? And then boom, they crash because like one of the analyst expectations was too high. I'm not saying any of that happened with Robinhood, but what I am saying is this was something that was a major oversight on my part and the analyst part. And as a result, they got hit because the street wanted 650. And they brought 637 and they teased us. The stock was up 6% for like 5 seconds. I saw it go to almost $29 and then boom, just comes crashing down. And as soon as it was down 10%, I was like, we're not coming back, at least not today. When you're down 10%, unless it's a major head fake, which a head fake doesn't last for like, 2 minutes. It's about 5 seconds. Like when it went up to 29, that's a head fake. And then it goes into the direction that it's probably going to stay at. That's when I knew, all right, something's wrong. And that was the revenue miss. So all in all, to me, that was the issue. And as a result that was the issue, it kind of frames the quarter in a way that's like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, quite frankly. And I'm trying to be objective here. Adam says, is this because of an accounting? That's the loss. Correct. This is because of an accounting miscommunication with the street. And by the way, I will blame Robinhood for that. They're not absolved of guilt here. They definitely could have communicated better to Wall Street around this contra revenue thing. They didn't do that. And because they didn't do that, that's the problem. So 637 million in revenues, 150 million in profits. That's a 24% net income margin. That was incredible. They bought back 5 million shares at 1940. Margin interest is at 2-year highs. Assets under custody is above 150 billion. Gold subscribers is at an all-time high of 2.2 million. They make $110 million a year just off gold subscribers. That is an 8-figure business or 9-figure business that's just based on their ability to bring in revenue from a $5 a month subscription. If they increase that to $6 a month, that increases a ton of revenue. I don't think they're going to do that, but that is one of the ways they can offset some of the lack of interest revenues they have as well. Now, here's the reason why I think this is a buy the dip if we get into the low 20s. I already have my limit order set at 24, 2350, 22, and 2250, totaling close to like 500 to 700 shares at all of those levels. So if we hit those levels, I'll automatically get assigned at those. And we'll see if we get those. Right now in the pre-markets, Robinhood is at 2560. Look, my gut feeling is that we open below into the 24s. Now it's holding up nicely in the pre-market. At one point, it got to like 2298 yesterday. Then it immediately rebounded. Do I think we deserve to go to 22? No, which is why I'm willing to buy that dip. But is there a shot we get there and the streets just like, screw it, we're scared, the election's coming up, yada, yada? Yes, that could happen. If not, and we stay above 2550, then it's a 9% decline on earnings off a stock that was already up 130%. Not that big of a deal at the end of the day. And I don't think that's going to be too bad. But I do think we could probably open below. Now, here's why I think it would be a buy the dip. The October quarter. So on the earnings call yesterday, I missed this entire paragraph, and that's my fault. I wasn't really able to communicate this too well. I guess I just somehow missed it when they were talking. But in October, they had $4 billion of net deposits, which is really good because somehow in September, we had this $2.5 billion net deposits, which sucks, even though it's better than a lot of other, financial service companies because it's just 1 month of deposits. We still had $10 billion for the quarter. 2.5 billion in September was not what I expected. I expected about 3.5 billion. So that was another thing that I had kind of got wrong. And I think it's because people took their money and they left their brokerage in September because they were afraid of the market crashing that first week of September, which is fair. And some of that money just didn't come back. Otherwise, I thought, we would have got closer to 3.5 billion. They also said they had their highest month of equity volumes in over 3 years. Since 2021, they said October was the biggest month of trading volumes for equities. They had 5 billion of crypto volumes, which is significantly better than the 3.7 billion they had in September. Also, their take rate on crypto went from 0.35% to 0.48%. So they're making more money on crypto, even though they have less volumes. That's how they were able to meet my numbers, even though they had less volumes, because the take rate they have on crypto has actually gone higher. And they said they had one of their highest option volume months ever, which means I'm assuming they have close to 150 to 160 million option contracts traded. That was all in this month of October. October obviously has been a very good month. If November can keep up that momentum, then I think the stock gets back to 30 by the end of the year. I mean, if November keeps up this momentum, October keeps up the momentum, and then, December kind of finishes out the year, we get some rate cuts, election gets done with, I think the market's going to be like, all right, this is a phenomenal company that's probably going to continue growing at least at 30%. So to me, the reason I think of buying the dip is because when you get these metrics, basically their guidance on October, it's like, okay, so October doesn't suck, which means Q4 is set up to do well. And as long as the street analyzes this whole contra revenue thing that they didn't think about, then we should be okay in terms of analyst expectations and projections in regards to what's happening with how Robinhood's reporting their earnings. So those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on what we got on Robinhood. The other thing they said is their election product that they put out, 10 million contracts were traded on the first day it came out, with them set to do close to double that on the second day. That's incredible. They're not going to make a ton of money off this because they're making 1 cent a contract, but the fact that they're getting 10 million contracts to be traded in the same day when the product comes out and then double that the next day just shows the product velocity that they have and the user engagement that they can bring in when they introduce a new product. If they expand that betting market to a lot of other things, I think that can obviously be very bullish for Robinhood over the long term. So those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts for what we got going on in Robinhood. For those that are just joining, my costume today is a mixture of Alex Karp and Jensen Huang. Alex Karp with the hair, Jensen with the jacket, even though his jacket is black. I need to get a full black jacket. That'll really do the Jensen costume well. But that's my Halloween outfit today. Did they discuss international expansion? No, they did say they're getting ready to do options in the UK. It's probably going to take a couple months. They do have margin in the UK, but no other major international expansion outside of that. So in general, look, those are my thoughts. I think it was a really good quarter. It's just my expectations along with other people's expectations was too high. And I am a little afraid, given what we saw yesterday with Hood, just off a slight miss because of expectation issues. And when I mean slight, I mean EPS missed by 1 cent. And by the way, the 1 cent was because of a regulatory accrual fee that we had to pay, I think of like $20 million, which was the hit of the 1 cent on the bottom line. Otherwise, we would have beat or came in line with expectations on EPS. So it makes me afraid that Palantir, my other large holding, which I am mentally prepared for Palantir to go back to 35. Because even at 45, I know that it's getting up there. And even if it goes below 35 into the 32s, the year started at 16. That would be 100% year to date. I can't complain about that. I'm mentally prepared for that. But it makes you wonder if Palantir puts up the growth or they slightly miss against expectations. What does that mean for this stock that is up more than Robinhood is up year to date and is at trading at multiples that is obviously much higher? Now, I don't think there's a mismatch between the street and Palantir expectations. I think Palantir said, hey, we're going to do 703 million. The street's like, okay, we expect you to do 703 million. And so if Palantir does more than that, then they're going to beat. So I don't think this whole expectation communication issue is going to happen with Palantir, but it's just a question now on if they can get the growth that gets, investors to be excited for the multiple that we have. So those are my perspectives, and that's what I got on Robinhood as well. Will it be options within an ESA? I don't know, Dominic. They haven't come out with the ESA yet either. I think all of that will be 2025. They're just waiting for regulatory approval from the UK. But once they get that, I think you'll have probably that and the ESAs start to come out. Okay, cool. So that's what we got with Robinhood. That's it. If you guys have any other questions on Twitter, I wrote up a long post. You can comment under that post, and I'll try to get to questions as well. But those are my thoughts. I think it's a good quarter. We'll see how the market opens with it. 25.60 right now. I think there's a shot we open below 25, probably get to 23. If not, then we hold on, and that's okay. The final reason I think people are selling as well is because of the election. I mean, now people are really starting to feel what it's going to be like going into an uncertain election. It's coming up in a couple of days. Some people probably want to protect their gains. They've had some good runs in 2024, and they're like, you know what? I don't want the election to ruin it. So I think there will be a certain amount of people that are also selling just to protect against that. And Friday and Monday and today are the last days to do that before we have to engage in that election. Okay, let's move on from Robinhood. So SMCI is down another 5%. Let me know if you bought the dip on this one. I personally don't think it's worth touching. And the reason for that is because I looked more into it last night. But again, for those that don't know why it's down 35%, their accounting firm left them, Ernst & Young. And from the people I talked to yesterday, big four accounting firms like KPMG, Ernst & Young, PwC, they don't leave clients. Like, these guys want to make money, and public companies have a lot of money to spend. So it's very odd that these guys would leave you unless they really felt something's wrong. And it does make me a little worried about NVIDIA, their third largest customer. Like, this is not a good thing if SMCI is having accounting errors, because I don't think NVIDIA is having accounting errors, and I think any accounting firm that says NVIDIA has accounting, I mean, the money NVIDIA must be paying their accounting firms. For you to walk away from that, it would have to be so bad. And, you know, the sort of Enron comparisons that the Bears have been talking about would come out the woodworks. I don't think that's happening, but it does make you a little worried in terms of the relationship between NVIDIA and SMCI. So I think that's something the street's watching on right now. And it's trying to, you know, have a perspective on what they think is going to happen. So SMCI, I don't think it's worth touching, down about 37% in the past 2 days. We'll see how it opens up. Maybe some people going by the dip, but as of now, that one is definitely taking a little bit of a hit. Reddit was up 40% yesterday, up another 1% today. Again, they crushed on earnings, which was amazing. And that's why Reddit is getting this momentum. Let's talk about big tech. So Google's down 0.5% right now. And Microsoft, I think, is down 2%. Microsoft is down 4%. Why is Microsoft down? Why is Meta down? Honestly, I'm not sure. And the reason Meta's down, my assumption on this is that Meta's expectations also were too high. So Meta missed on earnings. But again, it was such a slight miss because analysts were expecting something a little bit higher, which is a stupid reason for it to fall, right? It's just not like, it's an incredible business growing at 20%, $40 billion of revenue, their highest net income ever at $15.7 billion. I mean, that's just incredible. That's a net income margin of 39%. That means 39 cents of every dollar goes to their bottom line. So incredible earnings by them. But again, expectations on analysts, I think they had like 40.7 billion. They had EPS of a little bit higher at like 650. Meta had 630. And so that's why Meta is down about 1.5%. 1.5% is not that big of a deal for Meta. Meta's already had a 70% run year to date, so it's not that concerning. Microsoft's not that concerning either. But the only problem, I think, from what I heard on the earnings call is that they're not talking about Copilot penetration. Cloud was good. Cloud grew 1% ahead of expectations, which was good because Azure really is the story right now for AI. But again, the street's kind of worried about Microsoft because they're like, Azure is an infrastructure for companies to run their AI workloads on, which is why you are getting more cloud revenue and more momentum. But what is your actual AI revenue, right? Like, you're providing this cloud infrastructure for people to use to be able to run their AI startups, et cetera, but like, what are you doing to win in AI? And I think the lack of Copilot on the call, or the lack of discussion on Copilot, they gave barely any guidance on how many people are actually using Copilot. I think that's why the market is a little bit afraid right now. Now, granted, Morgan Stanley raised their price target to 548. Bank of America raised Meta's price target to 660. Bank of America, or another company, also raised Meta to 705 this morning. So the street is positive on the price target and the long-term trajectories of these companies based on these earnings, which is all we could ask for Q3. All we needed was these guys to not mess up, and down 4% is like not that bad. It's definitely not down 15% like Microsoft was in Q2 earnings, but they're not up 7 or 8% because the street's still trying to figure out where's the AI ROI. And I think the same thing for Meta is happening right now. Microsoft also trading at a 35 PE. If they don't really show the growth, then, you know, the street's not going to give them the momentum. That also makes me afraid for Apple today, because Apple's at 35 PE, and I don't know if they're going to show any growth, and I don't know if iPhone 16 demand is going to be what we expected. So far, my take on big tech earnings is Tesla crushed. That's great. Google crushed. That's great. Although Google was oversold, so next quarter is going to be a little bit different. Meta crushed. That's good. Expectations were a little too high. And then Microsoft did good. I wouldn't say they crushed, but they didn't do horrible. They did enough to justify the current multiple they have, and maybe a little bit of expansion throughout the end of the year if we get some rate cuts, which is good. I mean, like, that's in a frothy market where, I say frothy because the multiples are up there, not because I think it's like bubbly or anything, even though certain parts of it are bubbly, but the broader market is supported by good earnings and good macros. That's all you could ask for, right? You could ask for the Mag 7 to do what they need to do. And if the Max 7 can put up the results they're putting up without tanking, then I think everyone should be happy, right? Like it's hard to expect them to go up another 10, 20%. It's more important for them to kind of just where they're at right now and do what they have to do. Zuckerberg is on CNBC right now. Is he? Let's see. I think he is. Let me see, unless they're previewing it. Let's listen to this real quick and then we'll keep going from there.
Nice stock moves. But the stock move is wrong. See, we don't care what it's doing. We care about what it's going to do.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
And the people who don't think this quarter is good are people who are clinging to 2 or 3 lines in the call where they're very negative. Now, unfortunately, we have Apple tonight, which is the most telegraphed miss in history. Telegraph miss in history. It's like, basically they're going to...
Oh, CNBC played Zuckerberg talking about the call. Okay, let's get this part of it if I can listen to it. Yeah, so he's not on CNBC. They were just playing him on CNBC. Let's listen to Zucks real quick here.
New services and computing platforms. And I think that this partially comes from having a vision and roadmap that is aligned with the direction that technology is heading. But even more importantly, from our teams doing some really excellent work on execution on so many fronts.
I mean, look, same stuff that I was talking about. They've executed very well. Advertising growth is amazing. Like you can't get upset at the quarter. Now, again, the expectations are the expectations, and we're part of that kind of weird cycle where these companies are up so much. Maybe the street's expecting a little bit more than what they wanted, but earnings themselves were phenomenal, and it was very strong. Here's the income statement on Meta, and this is what you're looking at. Again, just an incredible business. Revenue at $40.6 billion. Advertising was $39.9 billion. Operating profit $17.4 billion. Gross profit $33.2 billion. Reality Labs actually made $300 million. That's up 30% year over year. By the way, revenue grew top line 19% year over year. Let's just round it up to 20. I mean, Meta compounding at 20% is insane given their size and how big they are. And it's all led by advertising. And that means that people keep using Facebook, Instagram, and I think WhatsApp has some beta ads, but really Facebook and Instagram are just driving the majority of growth for Meta. This was a company that people thought Facebook and Instagram were dead. I don't use Facebook anymore. I use Instagram here and there, but the majority of the world, I guess, is still on these products. And, they're obviously doing a very good job monetizing those products and being able to bring in some momentum. So that's what we got for Meta. Again, Microsoft beat on cloud expectations, but they were not able to beat on the sort of Copilot growth that the street wanted to street. And as a result, you got stocks that are slightly down in the pre-markets, which is okay because that's better than kind of them being down, 20% or 15% just because they had an earnings that didn't match the expectations. HIMS was down 15% today. Yes, HIMS was down because of the Lilly stuff that was going on. I think that dip was bought up a little bit by the end of the day. HIMS right now in the pre-market, it's up 1%. So it's still down 14% from yesterday, but it's up 1% from what we saw yesterday. All right, Palantir, let's talk about that real quick, then we'll move on. Palantir's down 2.66%. I don't know why Palantir is down other than 2 reasons. So my assumption for why Palantir is down, and it's really funny. So yesterday on the Robinhood call, right? While Robinhood was tanking, Palantir starts tanking from like 44 to 42.50. And I can see the chat. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's freaking out. I can't imagine if Palantir actually goes to 35. Now, I can imagine that because I think that could happen on an earnings that doesn't live up to expectations. But I just want people to remember it's up a lot and stocks don't go up forever. And I feel like, whatever you hear in other places is fine. But at least on this channel that's been covering Palantir for the better part of 4 years now, it's not healthy for it to go to $55, $65. Would I love it? Yes. But as a long-term investor, someone who's not planning on selling for a while, I don't want some meme stock mania up to $70 and then come crashing down because it gives a bad rap to the company. Everyone starts looking at it as a manipulated stock that can be toyed with. And it's just not good for it to go up and down in such a volatile way. So I think everyone needs to be mentally prepared for 35 at minimum if the street is like, hey, it's trading too rich. It's a day before the election. Growth is not the growth we expected. It's not an NVIDIA quarter. We priced it for an NVIDIA quarter. Therefore, we're selling it off. I think that could very well happen. And I think people have to be okay with that. I know people have been buying from 35 to 42, but again, you have to realize it's up a lot. And if you bought it at 35, you were buying it already up 130% year to date. If you bought it at 42, you were buying it up 175% year to date. So it's like, you got to be okay with realizing that if you're buying high, like I was buying Robinhood, right? I bought Robinhood at 26, 27. Right now we're at 25. I think those are fair prices to pay, which is why I'm okay with that. And I'm ready to DCA. But it's not like, I'm going crazy because Robinhood goes at 25. No, I thought 26 was okay. I think 25 is okay. I think 24 is not that big of a deal either. I think 22 is a great deal. So if it gets to 35 for Palantir, I'll think it's a great deal. I won't freak out. And I'm a little afraid that some people will freak out, not realizing that the stock is up a lot. And I think that's really important to just keep in mind for what we get for Palantir. Now, why is the stock down? Okay, two reasons. Number one, I think Microsoft and Meta going down on earnings, given Palantir is an AI adjacent stock, that is what hurt Palantir. Unfortunately, no one told Satya Nadella to say Palantir again on the earnings call. Maybe if he said that, that would have helped Palantir. But that probably is the reason why those stocks fell. Another one is Alex Karp has sold $254 million of shares in the past 3 days. And we talked about this. I disclosed these two sales on Monday and Tuesday. So we knew that he sold $200 million worth of shares, but I don't think the mainstream media press outlets heard about it. And yesterday, I think that's when like Bloomberg and all these other guys kind of, I think the official SEC form for all of his sales were applied. And that's when you got pictures like this going viral on Twitter and everyone's seeing that the sales started to happen. We talked about insider selling a ton of times on Palantir. I've given my thesis on that for like the past 2 weeks. Not going to reiterate that. But at the end of the day, I can't blame the market for thinking this is bearish right before earnings that he's selling $254 million. Now, another thing to remember is a lot of these were also exercising options that he's had for like the past 15 years. So although some of it was profit taking, a ton of it was also selling to pay for the taxes. But regardless, I think this narrative that kind of hit the press outlets yesterday about Karp selling right after hours at around probably 4:35 p.m. is what's taking the stock down. And look, if people want to sell because Karp's selling, I don't blame them. But like that is probably one of the reasons why the stock was down about 2.3% yesterday. ARK also sold as well. ARK sold, how much did ARK sell? ARK sold about 307,000 shares, 370,000 shares, so about $16 million of Palantir. I don't think that put that big of a dent in Palantir. I mean, given how much volume is in this company and how much people trade it. But yeah, that is something that people probably saw, and some people still follow Cathie Wood, so they might have followed her as well. Tesla, 3,000 shares were sold off of Tesla from Cathie. She bought 77,000 shares of AMD. She bought 689,000 shares of Archer. She's getting really bullish on Archer. And she bought 1,920 shares of Meta. So, she sold 58,000 shares of Tesla. So a total of about 63,000 shares of Tesla she sold, with 370,000 shares of Palantir she sold. I mean, look, her selling Tesla and Palantir, do I love it? No, but I also know she has an ETF. Those stocks are up a lot from her cost basis. She probably has to take profits. So it is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, that's probably what she's doing from a rebalance perspective. My issue is never that Cathie sells these stocks. It's that she sells these stocks and then she buys really weird stuff. It's not an issue to take, profits on Palantir. It's just like when you reallocate it into some of the stuff she does, that's where I'm like, well, long term, I don't think that thing is going to have a better return than Palantir. So you might as well just hold on to Palantir even through the dips, right? But granted, that's how she does what she has to do. EL is down 20%. We got a bunch of earnings to go through as well, so let me pull those up. EL is Estee Lauder. Yeah, they are down 23%. All right, so perfume and makeup, I guess, is not being bought up, and that's why Estee Lauder is down 22%. Roku is down 14%. That is no surprise and should be no surprise to anybody. Okay, let's go through all the earnings that we've got because we had a ton of earnings today. And I will tell you the stock prices of those earnings as we look at their results. So we've got MasterCard with a double beat on EPS and revenue. So MasterCard right here, 389 versus 375, 7.3 billion versus 7.2 billion. This is also very good because that means consumers are spending up 1.77%. Not bad for MasterCard. And, if MasterCard and Visa both having good earnings just means that we got a healthy consumer spend going on across all the different credit cards and services that people use, which is not bad for the broader economy. So that's what we have on MasterCard. Let's see what else do we have. You guys are telling me I'm saying Estee Lauder wrong, but again, I'm an independent thinker, and I think for myself, and I've come to my own conclusions on how to pronounce Estee Lauder. Roblox, 37 cents of EPS of a loss, 1.12 billion of revenue. Roblox stock is currently up 23%. Wow. I don't know what the hell Roblox said. That's a good beat, but it's not like a crazy beat. I don't know what 23% is I guess everyone forgot about the Hindenburg short report. This is why you can't love Hindenburg, dude. Everyone's like, oh, Hindenburg's amazing because they got SMCI right. Yeah, but then 3 weeks later they say short Roblox, and Roblox is up 29% since they said short it. I mean, like they're kind of a hit or miss, to be honest to me. But they definitely got SMCI right, it seems so far. ConocoPhillips, this one beat on the earnings per share, beat on the revenue. This stock right here is up about 3%. Again, even if you don't own these companies, it's nice to see a lot of companies are having double beats. And if they have a miss, they're having a very slight miss. Peloton, the company I said Apple should have bought a while ago, is now up 18%. We had Einhorn the other day say that it was undervalued, and now they beat on EPS by 8 cents versus 14 cents, revenue 586 versus 571. Those are actually really good beats. That's a 6-cent EPS beat, and that is a $15 million revenue beat. I guess people are buying more Pelotons for some reason, and that's why Peloton is going up right now. The Experimented paid a $2 super chat to diss me by saying, please watch some pronunciation videos. Thank you, The Experimented. I appreciate it. You know what's funny is we did a pronunciation video a while ago on the channel, like a couple months ago. It was this French guy's YouTube channel who's like, all he dedicates is to how to pronounce English words. And he's from France. Like there's a France guy trying to teach you how to pronounce English words. And it was so bad. Okay, Altria Group. This is Steve's favorite. This is up 1.58%. EPS 1.38, revenue 5.34 billion. They sell cigarettes. So I give Steve a hard time every time he talks about the stock. But they have a double beat as well. Bristol Myers Squibb, BMY, double beat as well. They are up 2%. That's like 7 for 7 on double beats. Uber, double beat as well on the EPS of 120 versus 41 cents. Incredible. Revenue 11.18 billion versus 10.98 billion. Incredible. Uber is down 7.5%. And I actually have no idea why Uber is down. So actually from Dara and see what's going on with Uber. Oh, wait, do you guys hear it? Do you guys hear it? It says let me play it again and see if you guys hear it.
Join us right now in an exclusive interview is Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi. It's great to see you. Before we get into it.
Okay, this is being weird. This is being weird. Dude, StreamYard on my laptop has been so weird. Let me pull it up on my separate screen. It said your browser has disconnected audio sharing. Let me just pull it up here instead. And I will share it from here. You know, yesterday during the Robinhood call, I didn't tell you guys this, but yesterday, my laptop, the one I'm on right now, my MacBook. Oh, it was good now? It's good now? Okay, good. Yesterday on my laptop it wouldn't do the screen share. So this is why I kept looking over to the side. Everyone was probably wondering, what am I looking over to the side? I was looking over at my second screen because my laptop wasn't sharing correctly. So I had to use the second screen to share the deck and the chart and all that stuff. All right, here we go.
But Dara, I should mention, despite the numbers looking good, the market may not think that they're as good. Right now, the stock is off about 6%. And I'm curious what your reaction to that is and why you think that's the case.
Yeah, it's really tough to gauge market expectations, but for us, actually, we came in on gross bookings top line, growing 20% right at our own expectations as well. Our EBITDA came in at record levels, 1.7 billion, up 55% as well. Free cash flow over $2 billion, and operating income over $1 billion, another record for the company. So we're very excited about the delivery of the results this quarter and incredibly optimistic about where we're going from here.
Let's talk mobility. So revenue up 26% year over year, driven in large part by trip volumes. Where are you seeing that? Is that more of an international play right now, or is that more U.S.? How do you go ahead?
Yeah, well, we see pretty broad strength in terms of trip volumes, but especially outside of the U.S. and the international markets. When you look at the APAC markets or European markets and Latin American markets as well, there's a number of newer products that we're launching. Two-wheelers, for example, in Latin America, or three-wheelers in India as well. And this is resulting in very, very high trip growth as we lower the price and make the service available to a much higher percentage of the population in those markets. So we're absolutely seeing very strong growth in the international markets.
Delivery business, trip volume driving about 18% of the growth year over year. How much pricing power do you have on the delivery piece at this point?
Well, I think that we've seen in delivery that it's a very, very sticky habit. Audiences are at all-time highs. Frequency continues to increase as well. And then really on the price side, we are focused on making sure that delivery is as affordable as it can be. And that comes in a couple of ways. One is with our membership program. So we now have 25 million members in our program. You get free delivery, you get discounts on delivery as well, and mobility. The number of members is up 70% year on year. So higher and higher percentage of our consumers are getting a more affordable service, both for delivery and mobility. And as a result, they're much more sticky to our product. They transact or spend 3 times more than non-members do. And then we're also working with a bunch of merchants as well. And you might see it on NFL game day, 50% off wings, et cetera, to get special deals to our members and all of our customers at Uber Eats as well. We call them merchant funded offers. And the percentage of offers now running through the system are at all-time highs as well. So while we do think we have pricing power, and we've seen that over the past couple of years, we're actively working to make delivery and mobility more affordable for everybody.
Got to ask you about the big headline that we reported and a lot of folks have been talking about for a couple of weeks now, this news that you have been discussing.
This is Expedia. I'm going to be curious what he says. Also, this guy, Dara, was the former CEO of Expedia. So let's see if he can sidestep out of this question, become a politician right here, or if he takes it head on.
The possibility of wanting to acquire Expedia, a company, of course, that you used to run. What can you tell us?
Well, Andrew, I'm sure that you'd be shocked to know that we're definitely not commenting on any particular deal one way or the other. For us, our focus right now is organic growth. And when you have a business that's growing top line at 20+%, you've got bottom line growing at 50+%. We have free cash flow now that we're allocating more and more to buying back our own shares. So you combine kind of the compounding of bottom line and reducing share count that we expect to start doing next year, you get very, very high returns for shareholders. So for us right now,
Okay, so didn't comment on Expedia. The free cash flow, buyback share stuff is fine. I still don't know why the stock's down 9% though. I mean, it was a decent quarter. International is growing really well as well. I think there's something in the guidance that I have to look at the actual transcript to see what's going on here. But I guess the street is a little upset just about either Q4 or fiscal year 2024 projections, which is fair. Uber stock year to date before this was up 36%. Again, another company that's up a lot. If earnings aren't absolutely amazing on every single metric, which is what we're seeing across the entire market, they're going to get a little bit of a hit. All right, we got the market open in 30 seconds. We're going to start off with all eyes on the hood. Hood at 26 now, down about 7.8%. It was down at 22.98 yesterday. It was down at 25 this morning or 24 last night. I don't know. I still think we could open into the 23s and 24s. We're going to see what happens in 8 seconds and how the market interprets it. But this is what it means to be an investor. And now we got to see how things play out. All right. Happy Halloween. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Robinhood is at 26.41, 26.35, down about 6.5%. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a recovery right here. It was down at one point, again, almost 20% last night, 26.14. I think it's going to take a little time to see kind of how the street thinks about it. It's a healthy sign that it's staying above 25. That to me is very healthy, that it's holding up those levels. If we drop below that, then I think it's maybe look out below. I think a lot of people might start taking some profits and getting out there. Volume is already 2.7 million, 25.80, down about 8% right here. Holding above 25, not horrible. I mean, yesterday it looked like it was going down to the low 20s. So I still think that's possible, but holding above 25 is not too horrible based on what we're seeing right now with Hood. All right, we'll get back to Robin in a second. Carvana is up 16%. Root is up 108%. They have doubled in the course of 24 hours. This is the beauty of the liquidity of the global capital equity markets. This is a technology insurance company that put up some really good numbers, and that's why they're up right now. Meta is down 2%. Microsoft's down 4%. NVIDIA is down 1. No, NVIDIA is down 2%. All right, NVIDIA is actually getting hit. Roku's down 13%. Estee Lauder is down 24%. Uber down 7%. SoFi down about 0.5%. SoFi, again, had an incredible reversal yesterday. I mean, if I was a short, I would really be thinking twice right now about SoFi. But SoFi right here at 11.19, holding above 11, which is good. Coinbase at 204. Coinbase also missed expectations. Retail is not back into crypto, folks. They're just not back. It's just that simple. The only reason Bitcoin's up is because of MicroStrategy and the ETFs. That's it. Retail's not trading. Retail trading expectations massively missed when it came to Coinbase. It also sucked for Robinhood. So maybe October, they started to come back a little bit more, but at least in Q3, they were not there. And that's why Coinbase is down about 4%. Bitcoin still holding in the 70,000 range. I mean, it's been about 3 days now. It's holding above 70,000, which is not too bad. IWM is down about 0.14%. HIMS, 1895, continues to fall after being down 15% yesterday. So no major recovery there. AMD is down another 1% after being down 11% yesterday. So you got AMD. That's down right now. Where is Roblox? Roblox should be up. Roblox is up 15%, 49.98. Let me give a shout out to Lena in the chat. I know she's loved Roblox for a while. So shout out to Lena. She's been on the Roblox train for, I think, like 7-8 months now. Roblox right here up 16% on a pretty strong beat on EPS and on revenue. Crocs is up about 1%. Open Door up about 0.5%. Delta's down a little bit. Alibaba's down 1.4%. China also is down 0.4%. Where's Hood? Robinhood 25.83, still holding above 25. I'm impressed. I'm not going to lie. Based on how the street reacted yesterday on that double miss, you could have seen it, opening up a lot lower. Again, the double miss, for those that are just joining, was primarily based on a miscommunication with the market around something called contra revenue, which is why the stock had a double miss and why the stock ultimately fell 20% on that double miss. But I don't think that's a legitimate reason, because if the street had adjusted their expectations for that contra revenue, you would have had a double beat, right? Or you would have at least had a very slight miss. So seems like maybe that's why people are buying the dip right there. Carvana up 14%. SMCI down another 7%. SMCI is 48 cents away from going below $30. Where's Microsoft? Oh boy, Microsoft's down 5%. Okay, that's not good. That's not the best. I hope 5% is the worst of it. Maybe 7% is the worst of it, and then we can move on. Microsoft did get upgraded by pretty much everyone on the street today. Dan Ives gave them 550. JP Morgan gave them 508. You had a ton of companies say, hey, Microsoft earnings were fine. They weren't amazing, but they weren't horrible. I guess it's being sold off just because the 34 PE, again, is a little hard to justify when you don't have amazing growth. But if that's hard to justify, then again, Apple today is going to be really, really interesting, because I don't know if Apple's going to put up the growth. Apple right here at a 34 PE. If Apple can just guide iPhone 16 was good for Q4, then I think they'll be okay going into the holiday season. But that's going to be one of the most important things when it comes to Apple. Palantir 42.91. Palantir holding up nicely in this $42 range. Maybe makes our way back to 43, which would be not bad to see for Palantir. Again, Shyam Sankar published a call it manifesto today. I'll put that in the chat. I recommend everyone to go read it. It was a really, really good read this morning. And it's all about how we can change American defense and how we procure software for American defense. So I put it right there in the chat. You guys can check it out. Amazon, where is Amazon? 189. So it's funny. After hours yesterday, or right before Microsoft and Meta reported, Amazon was at 195. Google was at 183. Meta was at 600. Microsoft was pushing 440. And then earnings came out, and all of the Mag 7 took a hit outside of Tesla. Tesla's the only green one we have right now. So Tesla's the only one saying, you know what, you guys can live in your hyperscaler world, but I'm going to go be here on the side. And Tesla right here at 258 right here, up about 0.17%. NVIDIA getting hit on this SMCI news. I think that's the only reason. Maybe you could say Microsoft going down is affecting NVIDIA, but Google, Microsoft, and Meta said they're all spending a crap ton of more CapEx in 2025. Not all of it's going to go to NVIDIA, but a decent chunk of it will. So I don't think the street can say that the hyperscalers, which are NVIDIA's largest clients, are not going to be spending on NVIDIA. I think this is SMCI related. That's what it feels like to me. Where are the semis? Semis are all red. Look at the left-hand side of my screen. All red on semis. Is it correct that Vanguard owns 250 million shares of Palantir? Yes, but that does not matter for the people that think BlackRock or Vanguard owning shares of a company matters. It doesn't. They have to own those shares because they have tons of ETFs and they have to allocate appropriately to those ETFs. So I never take those headlines seriously. Like, they own everything, not just Palantir. They'll probably increase their positioning as the company grows and, as clients have more demand for it, but it's not really bullish for Vanguard. I would look at other independent funds outside of the big ones, because the big ones usually have a mandate to buy those shares. AMD is down 1.5. NVIDIA is now looking like it's going to 135. ASML is down 1.2. Broadcom's down 2.3. Qualcomm's down 1.2. TSM is down 1.6. ARM is down 7%. Dell is down 3%. You would think Dell gets a little bit of a tailwind after SMCI, but they're going down with it. SMCI is now down 9%. Micron's down 3%. Lam Research also after a good earnings yesterday or 3 days ago is down 1.9%. Everyone's talking about NVIDIA while Carvana. Yes, that is true. I mean, we could have all bought Carvana this year. We could have all just bet on the used car market, and we would have had a hell of a year. This is Carvana stock year to date. I mean, it's just, now I know why I'm getting $15,000 for my Honda Civic as a used car. I mean, like the used car market is so explosive that that I guess the demand is just very, very high. So Carvana right here at 383%, 6 months, 184. Over the past year, it's up 7x, dude. 781% for used cars. I mean, it's just incredible. And look, it's not a scam or anything. They're putting up real numbers, putting up real results. They're beating expectations outside of a lot of companies and beating them in a healthy way. So that's why the market's excited about them. Uber right here down 7%. Microsoft recovering a little bit, down about 4%. Where is Hood? Hood. All right, now you're getting some sellers at Hood. My buys, my limit orders start triggering at 24. All right, there you go. Below 25 on Hood. If we get to 24, my first batch of 200 shares will be bought. We'll see if that happens. Looking at my portfolio, I am down $49,000, 360. That's amazing. It's so much fun to be down $49,000, 300. Volatility. Yesterday it was probably up close to 49,000. It is what it is. This is the nature of being an investor. So 2487 on Hood, down about 11.8%. NVIDIA right here at 136, Palantir 4284. Again, I still think Hood 2322 is very possible if the street gets a little scared before earnings. But do we have to go there? We don't have to, but we could go there. And if that's the case, I will buy more. Roblox right here up 15%. Amazon down 1%. Apple flat. Microsoft 4.5. Where's Googs? Googs had a good earnings. Googs is up. Googs is green. Googs is green. Market gives Googs some green. Lev says I'm down 67,000. Yeah, I think Hood's going to put a little bit of a dent in our portfolio, especially if you've got options, then you're going to feel the brunt of it today. If you have covered calls, you're going to feel great today. And so again, that is the benefit to selling these covered calls for these types of moments. These types of moments are the reason to sell covered calls because you just don't know sometimes. And, sometimes you'd rather get the shares called away than not have any protection for the shares. And I think it's a little bit of a better strategy if you're bullish than buying puts, because the puts you just, it has to go down. Whereas the covered call, it doesn't have to go down, but you'll still make money regardless, even if your shares get called away. And that is the benefit, for why covered calls ultimately are a good hedging tool. Roku's now down 18%. I don't know what numbers Roku put out. I think they double beat on the top and the bottom. So something still is getting the street upset about Roku, but Roku is down right here. SoFi's down 2%. Why is SoFi down? Why? Okay, so now everything's getting hit. Nothing's immune to this red right now. Where's the S&P? The S&P also was down yesterday. S&P 575. Yeah. So S&P's down 1%. That's definitely a decent move. If we go down a little bit more than 1%, then it'll be one of the redder days we've had over the past month. On top of that, for those that are just joining, PCE inflation came in line with expectations, which was good news. But now I think the market's concerned about this election. Look, Q3 earnings is not a reason for any of the red we're seeing. And again, I say red given how green October has been. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, Q3 earnings, I don't think is a reason for any of the red. I think it's kind of a lot of market jitters. I mean, we went through 8 companies this morning. All of them double beat. All of them. Like, you don't see that in a recession. You don't see that when things are contracting. You don't see companies, especially consumer companies, industrial companies, tech companies, pharmaceutical companies, software companies, like every diverse set of batches of companies that we have are doing well. CrowdStrike right here down about 1%, PayPal up 1.4%. And so to me, it's a little bit more people have gains and they just want to protect those gains versus let them go if they're afraid of the election. Rocket Lab, where's Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab down about 4% as well. Yeah, everything's getting hit today. Microsoft and Meta were good, but not amazing, and they're taking down pretty much the whole market with it. Now, again, Microsoft down 5% is a big move. It's not crazy. It's not like down 10% like last time. Meta also down 1%. That's kind of nothing. So I think market's kind of reacting to those two companies. Palantir as well, 42.60, down about 2.2% right here. Robinhood right back above 25 at 25.05 right now. Thoughts on Intel? Intel's, there was an article that came out yesterday saying that Apple is interested in buying Intel. I thought it came from a really reputable source. I think that's nonsense. Apple is barely willing to spend a dime on, companies that like would be a couple $100 million. They're not going to spend $95 billion on Intel. That's not happening. There's no way. So there was this article saying that, hey, they're interested in like incorporating their chips vertically integrated. Like, I don't think that's happening. So Intel, I think it's going to take some time to recover. I think there's better opportunities in the market right now. But if you're a long-term believer in like what they can do with their foundry business, then yeah, over time there's something there. It's definitely cheap in comparison to its tangible book value, but it's not the most exciting, and there's a lot of risk associated with Intel. Oh, Etsy. Yes, Etsy crushed earnings yesterday. So Etsy, let's look at the earnings from yesterday. So yesterday we had Starbucks. They're up right now. That's great. MicroStrategy's flat, down about 1%. Carvana, 16%. Roku's down 17%. DoorDash also had a great quarter, up 1.65%. If I'm not wrong, I think this was their first quarter of profitability. I could be wrong there, but they had a pretty solid quarter. eBay's down 8%. Etsy's up 13%. Coinbase down 4%. Microsoft down 5%. Meta down 1.2%. And then Robinhood down about 10.5%. So the winners yesterday were Carvana, Starbucks, because they did that preliminary guide, which is probably why they wanted to do that preliminary earnings a couple of days ago, because they wanted to tell investors, hey, it's going to suck. Be prepared. Then it sucked, and investors were prepared, and the stock is up right now instead of flat. Carvana crushed, obviously up 16%, and then DoorDash and Etsy, solid results, which again, DoorDash and Etsy are consumer companies. Etsy is people buying stuff. DoorDash is people ordering food. And if the consumer has the disposable income to do that, then that's not a bad thing at all. Booking Holdings also, yeah, they had a good quarter as well. Booking Holdings up 7%. Yeah. Again, good quarters across the board for a lot of these companies. Just expectations for some of them were a little too high. And that's what's getting people hit. Twilio also had earnings as well. Twilio's up 15%. That's nice. Twilio was stuck at 15 for the majority of the year. Or sorry, 50. Twilio stock, they ousted their founder a couple of months ago. The board kicked him off. Year to date, it is up 13%. Twilio is the company that sends you all the messages. So when you sign into an app and it says, send me a code, and you get the code immediately, Twilio is the company that probably sends you the code. Stock right now up 15%, $13 billion market cap on Twilio. Root went another 37%. It's up 150%. Are you kidding? Hold on. This doesn't make any sense, dude. This stock is up 150% and the volume is only 1.9 million. There's no way. When a stock goes up even like 10%, the volume is like 10 to 15. I know it's obviously specific to the stock, but any stock that's up more than 100%, the entire market, retail, everyone rushes into it. And you're telling me there's only 2 million shares that have been traded of Root? That's kind of insane, bro. Yeah, I know Root's market cap is only $1 billion. I get it. It was 600 million yesterday, so it more than doubled. But now it's 1.4 billion. But 2 million shares is kind of insane for a stock up 140%. I mean, Faraday Future does more than that. That's pretty incredible. All right, if you're in Root, congrats. That's absolutely incredible. Didn't Root do a reverse split? I don't know. I know Ginkgo did a reverse split. I don't know if Root did a reverse split. Did they? Yes, they did in 2022. Okay, so they did a 1-for-18 reverse stock split on August 8th, 2022. Well, stock's up today 133%. So again, this is most people would never touch a company that does a 1-for-18 reverse split, but that was 2 years ago, and companies can transform, and it looks like this company has transformed, which is why you have some momentum. Lena says, are you dressing up today? Lena, I am dressed up today. Okay. I'm Alex Karp with the hair and Jensen with the jacket. It's very sad you weren't able to put that together. That's okay. That just means my outfit was too creative for people to understand, which is not a problem with me as the creative. It's a problem with the world that doesn't understand the creativity, At least that's what I tell myself. So I did indeed dress up today. All right, we got the Starbucks CEO. Let's see what he has to say real quick on why earnings is good. This is the first time we're hearing from this dude. He's the former Chipotle guy. Let's see how he's managing or how he's thinking about Starbucks.
With Starbucks' new CEO, Brian Niccol, as he attempts to turn around the fortunes of the coffee giant. Part of Starbucks' new strategy is to try to make the menu less complex. But I asked him about how he plans to tackle the more complicated drinks, because historically those are some of the highest margin items.
A brewed cup of coffee, that's a highly profitable transaction. And we would be delighted to have more of those happening in our business. And oh, by the way, coffee, probably the best health and wellness drink you can have. based on everything I've read and what I've learned more and more about being at Starbucks. So I think selling the idea that we are committed to coffee and educating people on what we do from the farm all the way to the moment it gets in your cup, I think is going to really excite people. The customization and making the coffee or the drink personally yours, that's something we're going to continue to do. But we are going to put some guardrails on some of the customization because some of it, frankly, ruins the beverage and it really ruins the experience for everybody involved. So we have to strike a balance to make sure we protect the integrity of the drink, right, the integrity of the experience, and then get people still that personal experience that they're after.
You're a food guy. You came with a food background. What should the food at Starbucks be? I think this has been a perennial question.
Yeah, look, I would love for people to learn more about what actually goes into our food. And I do think we probably have an opportunity to do less breadth and fewer items better. And, I think we have the opportunity to make the world's greatest croissant. I think we had, I just had some egg bites this morning. They're terrific. So I think we've got some items that we can make brilliantly. And I think we have to eliminate some of the breadth that we have because some of those are not brilliant.
Are you guys buying it? Is egg bites and the world's best croissant the way that Starbucks gets out of the mess that they're in? I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not the CEO of Starbucks, so I'm sure he knows much better than me. I just think the coffee is just a little expensive, dude. If they brought the prices down, which means they have to subsidize the cost somehow, and that's where he's got to be creative. But maybe changing the menu and doing all this stuff doesn't matter if the fundamental price of the coffee is just too much. I don't know. I don't know if breakfast items. Who actually gets breakfast at Starbucks every day? But put in the chat. Do you guys eat Starbucks? Do you guys go to Starbucks? Do you you're an avid Starbucks card carrying membership? You have the app downloaded. Who actually is a Starbucks person here? And it really goes. Robinhood's 13% down. Yeah, Robinhood's getting hit. I felt that it would happen. 24.48. I had a feeling we would open up below that gap up to 26 with a little bit of a head fake already. It is what it is. The street's going to have to figure it out. Again, my buy orders start at 24. So if we go below that, we'll see. But you got 24.45 right here on Robinhood down about 13%. Lemonade also had earnings, right? Lemonade, they had earnings and they're up 20%. Lemonade's been a stock that's been crushed over the past couple of years. So it's good that they're, headed in the right direction, but they had a double beat on EPS and revenue. When I was in Orlando, I paid $15 for 2 cups of coffee and tips on top. Yeah, see, that's that just can't happen, dude. No syrups or any crap. Just 2 cups of black coffee is all right, that shouldn't be $15. It's a little bit too much. Bsoft says every day no, but whenever I have free points to buy a free breakfast item, I do because they are good, just crazy expensive. Yeah, I remember the last time I went to Starbucks, I also got a gift card from someone and I was using that. But outside of that, it's just it hurts spending $7 for a biscuit sandwich. It's this is a little expensive, folks. CJ says I get McDonald's breakfast a lot. McDonald's breakfast actually isn't horrible. I don't get it that often, but when I do get it, it's actually decent. It's $5 and you get a drink and a sandwich and hash browns. It's actually a pretty decent deal. Palantir is crashing. Okay, let's see. Where is Palantir? Are they actually crashing? Palantir down 3.3%. Okay, that's not crashing, but that is down. Kind of similar to where it was after hours. Robinhood is actually crashing, down 14%, 24.22. Maybe my buys get triggered at 24. 24, 23.50, 22, and then 22.50. Let's see. Let's see if they get triggered today. 24.19 on Hood, 42.17. And look, another reason people are dumping again, you got a lot of people that are hey, let me protect my gains. I got into Robinhood at $16, $17. The stock's crashing. Let me take my profits. That tends to happen in any stock. You've also got people afraid of the election. So when stocks already are down before a big event and you got people that are afraid, that could definitely, cause more pain. SoFi as well, down about 2.84%. The fact that SoFi is down with no news also leads to tell me that's a little bit more algorithmic. A lot of stocks are just falling right now, and SoFi had a big run yesterday. That's why it's down. And Novix down about 14%. Chipotle's up 1.5. Snapchat's down 2.4. BitX is down 1.2. JetBlue up a little bit today after being down 20% yesterday. Grindr's down 0.5%. Affirm's down 1.8. TSM is down 2.4. Where's SMCI? SMCI, wow, down another 14% today, guys. Oh my God. Another 14% today. Holy crap, bro. That is just goodness, bro. That means SMCI now is, I'm not going to take out my calculator. 14 plus 33 is 47. See, I didn't take my calculator this time. I didn't take my calculator. 47. So 47% down. Holy crap, dude. Holy freaking crap. Moons and Hughes says, hair crazy, bro. It's my outfit. I'm Alex Karp for Halloween. And Jensen Huang with the leather jacket. SMCI is now down year to date. Yeah, dude, do you guys remember on the market open when SMCI went from 1,200 to 600? And I was like, guys, should I buy it? And I was ready to buy one share just for the hell of it. And you guys were like, nope, don't buy it. And then it went back to 1,200. Well, now, which is 120 on the splits, now it's at 28. Year to date, dude, this stock, again, was at 120 in March. It was up, I think, if I'm not wrong, 400% year to date at the time and almost 900% over the past year. And now you are down year to date. This is the nature of the stock market. This is the nature of the markets, bro. They are brutal. They are humbling. Everyone gets humbled. No one is immune from humbling. Buffett's getting humbled right now on Oxy. I don't think he thought oil prices were going to 60 or 68. Oxy right here at 50. I think his average price right now is closer to 65. So even the greats get humbled. It's one of those things where this is the nature of the markets, and it's one of the most ruthless businesses ever, which is why people have so much respect for people that can put up yearly returns on a compounded basis, because it's just so hard, bro. It's just so hard. So hard. Look at NVIDIA getting smacked right here. NVIDIA down 4% right now. NVIDIA is now not the world's most valuable company like it was on Monday. NVIDIA getting hit. Buffett has Oxy. Yeah, he owns a lot of it. I mean, a lot. Some people are thinking he's raising $300 billion in cash just to buy out the whole company. By the way, on Saturday, we're going to know his cash pile because they have earnings on Saturday at like 7 a.m. So we're going to see how much cash he's actually holding on to. Hood 2446, so a little recovery from 2414, but still in that 2440 range. Rocket Lab at 1041, Meta at 574, down about 3%. Where's Microsoft now? Are we still getting hit on Microsoft? Microsoft down 5.15%. Tesla's going down. All right, Tesla's like, hey, I want to join the party. You guys are having so much fun there. I want to go down with you guys. Down 1.4%. It is Halloween. Last Halloween, I think this was the same thing. October 31st. I think SoFi reported October 31st, 2023, and they got hit, and then a lot of these companies got hit. But yeah, let me actually want to pull up a chart. Historically, I'll tell you guys how October 31st has performed for the S&P since 1950. Let me see right here. So since 1950 on Halloween, again, October 28th is one of the best days for the market. October 31st, the S&P on average goes up 0.08% over the past 50 years or 70 years. Right now, S&P is down 1.1. You're getting a little bit of now that's another reason why Robinhood is going down. I mean, if the S&P is going down, you're going to have Robinhood take a hit with it. Bitcoin somehow, folks. I mean, look, it's still above 70. It's down from 72 at 71.3. But Bitcoin somehow is holding on. Norwegian Cruise, yeah, shout out to Chris. The cruise lines are going up right now. I believe Norwegian crushed it on their earnings. Up 9% on Norwegian. That means Carnival should be up good 2%. And then Royal Caribbean up about 0.38%. So I think Chris owns Norwegian, so shout out to him. Cruise lines doing well right now. Again, oil prices going down, paying off their debt. People still have plenty of demand for cruises. And that's why we're seeing the cruise lines and get some love right here, even though on a red day. Coin down 8%. Coinbase is getting hit as well. Yeah, Coinbase is getting hit. Amit, will you do a separate video on investing in India? So I'll be presenting some DD on India. The only problem is I haven't been able to figure out how we can actually set up accounts to get access to Indian equities, which means there's only a couple ETFs we can all buy, which is annoying because like the real value in India is not in the large caps. But I will be presenting a lot of DD on India soon. The fear and greed index right here got to 53, folks. So we were at extreme greed, I think a week ago. Yeah, a week ago. We were at greed at 61. We were at extreme greed 2 weeks ago. Now we're at neutral. So if we get down another 1 or 2%, maybe we get down to fear. and that ends up being the buying opportunity. Maybe the election is the catalyst for that, but we are indeed going lower right there on the fear and greed index. Oh, here's the thing I wanted to show about India as well. Speaking of India, so GitHub CEO put this out yesterday. Look at this right here. So 108 million new repositories in 2024 happened from India, and 5.2 billion contributions to all the projects on GitHub come from India. Pretty incredible, dude. It's pretty damn incredible. And when you take a look at this, the top 10 global communities with the most contributors to generative AI projects on GitHub in 2024, the United States is first, and then India is second at about 25,000, the United States at about 70,000. So again, there's just a lot of growth in that country, and a lot of that growth is going to impact a ton of the companies that are expanding into that country as well. Okay, cool. So what else do we have going on right now? Estee Lauder is still getting slammed right here. I didn't look at their earnings, but something's going on with them. EL down 20%. Let me see if I can put up their numbers as well, see what they've got going on. Okay, so they had a EPS beat, a revenue miss. Same thing that we've seen for a lot of companies. They cut their dividend. That's why they're getting hit. Yeah, that'll do it for you. What was their dividend yield? Oh, man, that's a juicy divvy they're getting rid of. It was 3.82%, almost a 4% divvy. When you get rid of the divvy, you get rid of a lot of investors. They also anticipate strong declines near term for the industry in China and Asia, difficulty in forecasting the timing of the market stabilization and recovery in China and Asia travel retail. As we ignite skincare, our nighttime innovations proved highly sought after, drive strong organic sales growth for the category in the markets of EMEA, but China is still weak right now. That'll do it. China's weak and divvy's down. They're getting rid of it completely. That's what it looks like, unless I'm reading it wrong. It says they cut the dividend. I don't know if that's just for a couple quarters, but from what it looks like, they are cutting the dividend entirely. Also, dude, they had an operating income loss compared to last year. Last year, they made 98 million. This year, they lost 121 million. So they went from 2.8% operating income margins to negative 3.6%. That's also, even if they're only cutting the dividend for a little bit, is not a good thing. DJT, let's look at this one as well, down 4%. This one was at 55 a couple days ago. Now it's down to 3%. Kamala is ranking up in the betting market. She was at it was at 64.37. Now it's at like 60.40. So you're getting a little bit of increase in her in the betting markets, and that's probably what's triggering DJT to come down a little bit as well. Oh, NVIDIA. Oh my God. NVIDIA 132. If NVIDIA doesn't stabilize, we're going to see a 2 handle next to that 1 on NVIDIA. And then you're looking at the 120s as well. 80% gross margins to negative 3% realized margin. Yeah, that's bad. That is bad for EL. It's not the best. Shelly says, I love the way you pronounce Estee Lauder. Thank you, Shelly. I appreciate that. In a world where my pronunciations are deemed as abnormal, it is nice to see that there are some people that see the value in how I communicate certain vernacular. It means a lot. It really means a lot. All right, so what else do we have going on? Comcast beat earnings. Is Comcast down? CMCSA, Comcast is CCZ. They're up a little bit, 61.50. So again, dude, a lot. I got to do it. I'm going to do some research and see how many companies have double beat. Because at this point, it's looking at more than 80% companies have double beat, which is not bad at all. It's just some expectations probably were a little bit too high for a bunch of these companies. She's making fun of you, Amit. No, she's not. She's not making fun of me. Shelly, are you making fun of me, or are you laughing with me or at me? That's the question. I really hope it's with me. Do you think Palantir is down because of NVIDIA? Yeah, that's another reason. I didn't even think of that. So thank you for that. Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, if NVIDIA takes a hit, NVIDIA is the reason for all of this at the end of the day. There is no Palantir at 100 billion if NVIDIA is not 3 trillion. Let's just be very clear about that. If NVIDIA is not at 3 trillion, there is no AI thematic that sparks the imaginations of millions of investors to buy Palantir. It's just that simple. Not that they're directly correlated, but there is a massive proportional understanding of where AI spend is going from the hardware to the software companies, and that leads you to Palantir. So NVIDIA holding up is very important. Robinhood right here recovering a little bit at 24.94. But Nvidia going to 120 is not good for Palantir unless Palantir's growth starts outpacing Nvidia, which right now Nvidia is going to probably grow at 85% next quarter. I don't think Palantir is growing at 85%. I think we're going to be lucky if we get close to 35. Then until then, Palantir is still contingent on them as a proxy to an extent. Evan says, looking at the list view on Earnings Hub, looks like looking like closer to like 60% of companies with a double beat. Okay, that's good. So, I mean, look, if more than half of the companies in the stock market are doing a double beat, that's not bad. I mean, look, that's not the Q3 that some people thought. Some people thought Q3 was going to be really upsetting. Q3 has not been upsetting, dude. Maybe expectations got a little too high, but it's not been upsetting. Apple, Amazon, and Intel are going to be reporting after the bell today and Atlassian. So those are the main ones today that we're going to have to see. But so far, most of big tech has been okay. IONQ is down 11%. Okay, so this one, a lot of people were excited about. This is a quantum computing company. I still don't know exactly what they do, but they're down 11% as well today. Roblox up about 20%. That's kind of doing the best today. The rest of these names starting to fall off. Tesla now down almost 2%. Hood at 24.85. Meta at 5.76. SoFi 11.04. SoFi holding above 11, which is good. And then Microsoft down about 5%. What was the jobs report? We didn't have any jobs data today. Oh, wait, no. We had initial jobs claims. Hold on. We did have it. That came out like 2 seconds ago, right? Did it? Yeah, it came out. Okay, hold on. We just got the number. Initial jobless claims. It came out literally 3 minutes ago. I'm sorry. I forgot about that. Here we go. So initial jobless claims, 216 versus 230. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's really good, dude. That's really, again, dude, the macro data is really good. So previously we had 228,000 people apply for unemployment. The forecast was 230,000 for this week. We had 216,000. Again, when you look at the labor market, it is weakening, but it is not deteriorating at all, which is a very, very good thing. And then we had PCE that came in really good as well. Did initial jobless claims come out at 8:30 and I missed it? I feel like it came out at 8:30, not 2 minutes ago, and I missed it. Okay, well, if it came out in the morning with PCE, regardless, the numbers are good. The numbers are not bad. Don said the Fed are not dropping rates. Well, let's go to the watch tool from CME and let's see if the probabilities have changed. Probabilities have changed slightly. So it's 96 to 4% now. 96 to 4%. Look, a 96% chance, I still think is a hell of a chance for a rate cut. But could there be a surprise? Yeah. Again, the Fed doesn't want to surprise the markets. If this was 96% chance no rate cut, 4% chance rate cut, I would 100% agree there's not going to be a rate cut. But if it's swinging so differently to the other direction, even if some of the macro data is saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't have a rate cut yet, I don't think the Fed wants to surprise. I think the Fed could say, hey, we're not going to do 2. We're definitely going to only do 1 because we want to see more progress on inflation. You know what really determines this number is going to be CPI. If CPI comes in above 2.4%, I think that's when the people that said we're not going to get a rate cut could have a chance of actually being correct. But energy is going to be down for CPI. And energy is going to be down a lot. Like in October, energy crashed a hefty amount. So, or at least oil did, which impacts a lot of energy. So I think there's going to be some downside pressure on inflation to an extent. Fed should honestly wait till next year for the cut. Look, I mean, the sympathetic argument I can make against that, or the reason I have sympathy for that argument, is because the labor market is, again, it's not deteriorating even if it's weakening. So the problem is if the Fed waits till next year, do we end up into a recession? And they could have prevented it with a soft landing by cutting rates early, which is what everyone was talking about for the past couple of months. The bear case is that the Fed cuts and labor market holds up really well, so inflation is really sticky. But is 2.5% really sticky inflation, even if the Fed has an arbitrary target of 2%? Absolutely not. So then it's just a question of semantics in terms of how the Fed is going to navigate what they think the perception of inflation or the targets of inflation should end up being. S&P is down 2%. All right, so we got a red day, folks. We have no, it's not. It's down 1.2. It's not 2% down yet. It's down 1.2. 0.1, you were wrong. It's down 1.2, not 2%. But it's still down a lot. Down 1.2 is a decent amount for the S&P. DJT is halted again. This one was down 13%, so everyone's selling this thing off. Let me look at the betting markets, dude. Is that having an impact on this? I feel like it is. No, not real. I mean, 61-39. No, it's still 60-40. Trump-Harris. I guess people are just selling it to take some profits then. I mean, when the S&P goes down 1.2%, you would imagine people sell off a ton of random stocks. 2% down on the S&P would be a steal. I mean, I kind of agree with that. And this would kind of go back to Tom Lee's thesis that we're going to get some election volatility to the downside before the election. Now, we haven't had that. We've only had volatility to the upside. And earnings, I don't think justifies the S&P coming down, but people getting afraid of the election, that probably could justify down another 1%. Palantir's under 42. Okay, there you go. Palantir down 4.3%, $41.82. And now we are down. Again, I'm mentally prepared for 35 after earnings because, quite frankly, I never thought it would get to 45. I don't think a lot of people did this year. But if we get to 35, then we get to 35 and we deal with it. Now, if we get to below 35, I mean, I'll be a very big buyer if that happens. So I'll be, I think the dip is like the real dip where like, you know, you're compelled to buy a couple thousand more shares is like 30 to 32. I think below 30 is possible, but if we're reaccelerating growth, it's going to be hard. The okay, I'll buy some dip is at like 35, but the real, all right, I really want to get some is 30 to 32. The question then becomes, does NVIDIA mess up, right? If NVIDIA doesn't mess up earnings and the demand for NVIDIA is strong, that means the demand for Palantir should theoretically continue to be strong. And then 2025 should be a blockbuster year in terms of revenue growth, at least of 30%, if not closer to 40%. And if we don't get there, then the street's just not going to give us this multiple, right? So it's really contingent on what their guidance is as well. Reddit still pumping. Reddit up another 5% after being up 40%. 45%. Ricardo says this is going to be another August 5th. I don't think that's happening. If that does happen, and we get Hood at 14 and Palantir at 20, I wouldn't mind that, but I don't think that's happening. What else do we have? Real dips at 25. Yeah, I mean, look, 25 would be a real dip as well. I agree. Below 30, I think would be a pretty strong dip. 25 would put the market cap closer to what, 50 billion? So we would lose basically half the market cap we have on Palantir right now. 50 billion, growing at 35%, closing in on around 3.2 billion of revenue. I would say that's, given the nature of Palantir's product and the stickiness of the revenue, that's, to me, pretty undervalued. You're going to have a lot of valuation people say that's still overvalued at 25, but you know, they've been saying that for the past couple of years. There is still a healthy multiple the street gives to the fact that, remember, the street doesn't see any other public software companies truly capitalizing on AI. It's not Datadog. It's not Snowflake. Databricks isn't public. It's not Adobe, even though Adobe is a different type of generative AI. It's really just Palantir. We had the VC on the other day where he was talking about workplace transformation. AI is the most explosive sector of AI. He just raised $8 billion to fund AI startups that are transforming enterprises, whether it's hospitals, legal areas, finance firms, etc. If Palantir can capture a certain part of all of that market, which is what they're looking to do, on top of having a defense business that is very sticky with the DoD, I think the multiple is justified here into that 35-40 range. But we got to see if we get there. We got to see if we get there, especially on their growth. Market manipulation is probably the reason for the dip today. Big money still has 6 to 7 trillion on the sidelines, and they want a better deal when they enter with the election and earning its chaos. Yeah, I would agree. We're going to get money market fund updates today after the bell as well. So on the market close, we'll look at those. But 6.5 trillion on the sidelines probably want a better deal on Palantir than at 45, or a better deal on Robinhood than at 28. And that could also be causing some of this volatility. Robinhood right here at 24.54, down about 13%. Amazon Zoox offering autonomous rides in San Francisco and LA in the coming weeks. Well, the self-driving market is growing. Again, Waymo putting up 150,000 rides a week. I mean, that's just incredible, dude. Sorry. I had a video playing in the background. I didn't expect Waymo to do 150,000 paid rides, dude. That was kind of crazy, in my opinion, because they were doing 100,000 2 weeks ago. So when they announced 150,000 paid rides, it's like, wow. Now, the thing that was weird, though, is that they're doing 150,000 paid rides, but Google's not investing in this new round, or Google's not leading this new round of investing, which was weird to me because I'm like, Google owns them. Why are they raising money from external investors? Why is Google just not getting a higher stake, right? So it was one of those things where it's kind of, I wish someone asked them on the call, why aren't you guys investing more? But their growth itself is phenomenal. All right, we got the professor on CNBC. Let's get his perspective on what's going on right now in the markets.
Yes, sir. It's nice to see you as well. November, December. Okay, October's in the books after today. What's this market going to do for the remainder of the year?
Well, I think part of it depends on the election. And I think, when we see the VIX up at 22, there seems to be a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty on what that outcome is. Now, I think when it's resolved anyway, that usually brings the market back up. But, when you see a yield of 433, and in my calculation, I see now, believe it or not, only 3 25 basis point cuts between now and next June's meeting. There are 6 meetings left, 2 this year, and then 4 through June. That really means the market is really just expecting almost every other meeting a 25 basis point cut. Now, compare that with right after that 50 basis point cut where they were expecting at least 1 cut every meeting. So that revision upward, puts a new look on the market. It looks a new look on bonds. I mean, stocks are strong because it means the economy is just much stronger than people think. So, earnings will trump interest rates for stocks, but certainly for bonds, they're not good.
Well, I mean, what's more attractive here, stocks or bonds? I mean, the Fed is going to cut, whether it's 3 versus 6. The trajectory for yields presumably still is lower. Now, obviously, they backed up a bunch, which some would suggest make treasuries attractive here.
Well, I don't know how attractive they are. One has to remember through history, the 10-year is on average between 100 and 150 basis points above the Fed funds. Now, if they are going down, and I really don't think they're going to be going at most down to 3.5, even though their projection is 2.9, I think it's 3.5 to 3 3/4 now is that neutral rate. Then if you add 100 to 150 basis points to that, you're near the 5 level on the 10-year. People are all surprised, and we've talked about this before, that the long rate has gone up while the Fed is on a downward path. But what we are is reverting to the normal structure of interest rates, which is long above short, and we have not completed that transition yet.
Mm-hmm. But aren't fewer cuts better? I mean, you're somebody, you were arguing, maybe you said the 50 basis point cut was too much. Maybe they don't need to do more.
Well, I think we need to do more. As I said, I see it going down to 350, down to 375. So, we're talking about 100, 125 basis points below there. But then if you add the normal term premium, if we finally got out of this crazy inversion that we've had in the term structure for the last 2.5 years and get back to normal, which is what the Fed wants to do, you've got to add that 100, 150 basis points to the 10-year. And at this point, we're not there yet, even with the Fed on a downward path.
What do you think about the mega cap trade or the tech trade, which, after sleeping, I guess, for the third quarter, has woken up more? Now, the NASDAQ obviously has been hitting record highs. We're getting and figuring out what we want to make of Meta and Microsoft. We got Amazon and Apple this evening. But where are you on that outlook?
Well, the interest rate, both the long and the short interest rate, is just not as important to the big tech as they are to the small and mid cap. And the reason why, this, much called for small cap, mid cap revival has been short circuited is because now instead of thinking, oh yeah, the Fed is going to be really in the low threes by the middle of next year, oh, maybe they're going to be in the high threes, and we don't know how fast they're going down. So I really think that the reason why large cap has held its own and small cap hasn't gone up is really this revaluation of what's happening on the interest rate structure. Listen, the narrative on AI is still there. It's one of the strongest narratives we probably have had in the market since .com. That went on for many years. Now, I'm not predicting a bust here because these stocks are nowhere near as crazy as we were in 2000. But narratives go on for quite a while, and they don't disappear unless they get punched many times with disappointments. And, listen, we've had a few maybe slight disappointments on guidance on these, but not enough, I think, certainly in the short run to change the trend and the story.
Good seeing you as always, Professor. Be well. I'll see you again soon. I'm sure of that. Jeremy Siegel.
Thank you, Scott.
School. All right.
Okay, that's the professor. I just bought 20 shares of Hood at 24.33. Small buy as I'm waiting for it to go below 24 to really buy. But I bought 20 shares right there. So Palantir now at 42. We're getting a little bit of a green candle right here, folks. Same thing with the S&P. There's a greenie. Carnival is up. The cruise lines are up. Tesla also getting a green candle right there. Hood getting a slight green candle right there. Reddit having a great green candle today. Where's the Qs? Getting a green candle as well. Very interesting, dude. Market's kind of moving with each other. Even NVIDIA bottomed at I say bottom so far, but 132.37 about 30 minutes or 20 minutes ago. Now it's at 134.20. You're getting some green candle. Yeah, the market dip's getting bought, basically. Market dip's getting bought, at least for now. In unison. Look at Palantir. Palantir was at what, 41.58 to 42.10. Again, this market's very resilient, very, very resilient, and earnings growth are amazing. And the other thing to remember, there's a lot of people that have missed the entire run, and so they're looking for a deal. And if the best deal they can get is 5-6% down on some of these names, you can imagine they want to take advantage of that deal. At least dip their toes in that deal, and that creates the chance for stocks to go a bit higher. So that's what we're seeing. Where's SoFi? SoFi is green today. SoFi is green, 11.24 on SoFi. Yeah, SoFi is green. That's not too bad. Interesting. So we still have the 10:30 slam to watch out for. We got about 11 minutes until that happens. But at least that 10 a.m. slam seems to be getting bought up from the market for now. At least that's what it is starting to look like to an extent. We have Liz Young on CNBC. She was on yesterday. Let's get her perspective. We haven't heard from her in a while. So let's see what she has to say and what she thinks about earnings season as well. Okay, let me pull up the video. I got to pull this up. Amazon's down. Amazon is still down. Is SoFi still a buy at the price? Look, SoFi's run up a lot, so I think it's a little tough to buy it here, but it's breaking out of a channel, right? Which is the good part. And because it's breaking out of a channel, that's what we want to see. Breaks out of channel, the more you get new buyers step in this $11 range. And in the grand scheme of things, if you think it's going to 20, it's a great buy. The question is, do we think this is headed to 20 next year, right? One thing I will say, regardless of the price, if it's a good buy or not, financials are going to get a tailwind in 2025. I don't know what that means exactly for the stock, but it does mean that financials should have some fun next year if rates continue to come down. All right, here's Liz Young.
Anything?
I mean, first of all, I think this might be an unpopular response, but this close to the election, we've got such a big amount of macro data this week. I think earnings season just hasn't been as much of a story. And unless there's a big surprise coming out of one of these headline companies, we're just trying to find direction in the market. I think the market has taken a pause after having such a stellar year up until this point, waiting to just get to the other side of this really uncertain event, and frankly, waiting for jobs numbers on Friday. We got past GDP today unscathed, and I think that was a positive for the market. But now everybody's just sort of sitting on their hands.
You suggest, Adam, that you would market weight the Mag 7, Mag 6, whatever you want to say about it, which is not like, they're still such a big part of the S&P 500. Okay, so I want to be market weight that's fine. But what's your view on what's really at stake this week as we have Alphabet? I think they certainly reported better than what some had feared they might, and the stock hadn't done much. But what about now?
One of the big investment controversies when you talk to institutional investors is, will we see return on the investment from the hyperscalers, right? A lot of people are doubting that there'll be enough proof cases out of Microsoft's and Meta's spend. And so, after the big move in the summer, you saw that in a lot of my meetings. A couple weeks ago, Jensen from NVIDIA came to New York and said, you guys are crazy. There's a million examples. And then stock had that one big day relative to everything else. I'm in the camp of, there's a huge positive skew toward we're going to get some proof cases here in the next 2 or 3 quarters and get another big leg up from this group. I don't know if it'll be, tonight at the close, but I think all it's going to take is a large cap company saying, hey, you know what? We're getting better at predicting our customer behavior. We're getting better at predicting our employee behavior. In the past, we would have hired 1,000 employees for this. Now the analytics have picked up, and then everyone's going to say, yeah, you know what? My doubts here have been, cured for the time being. So I think it's a pretty positive skew to getting some pretty good case studies, whether it's tonight or if it's, in January earnings. I mean, it's kind of hard to pin.
Well, I mean, didn't Alphabet, Brian, sort of give us that last night, right? And now we hope that Meta and Microsoft continue a story. And
they did. Meta and Microsoft did continue a story. It's just the story was a little lower than what the street expected. Look, again, I agree with Liz right there. Liz is just like, earnings are not a story. She's right. Earnings are not a story because earnings have been so good. So market's neutral towards them. And that's important, because if the market was negative towards them, it would kind of ruin the way we had 2024 ultimately start off with and play out towards the end of the year. Iman, thank you for the $5 super chat. Amid any idea on LUCD, have 2K shares at 67 cents, but not sure if this company has any positive future or not. Thank you for all the great content that you do. I've never heard of LUCD. What is this one? Lucid Diagnostics. Yeah, Iman, I have no idea what this company is. It is a small cap, market cap right here at 54 million. You're up double on it right now, just about double. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. If you want, you can DM me on Twitter, and if you have like a one page or something, you can send it to me and I'll take a look. But yeah, I have no idea. That's a small cap, $50 million company. In general, I tend to stay away from some of those, but if you see some big potential in it, maybe there's a good bull case to hold on to it. S&P at 573, Palantir 42.11. Where's Hood? Hood 24.33. Twilio is up 14%, and then SoFi right here still at 11.17 on the day. LUCD is the Tesla killer, correct? It is the Tesla killer. What's your opinion of TSM? I wouldn't buy it right now, but I like them. Earnings were great. I just think it's, dude, a lot of the semis right now, it's hard for me to buy the semis because I think all of them have run up so much, and I don't understand the cyclicality of the semiconductor sector as well as I would need to be able to make that purchase and to go long SMH. Do I believe over the next 3 years we will have plenty of demand for them? Yes. But at that point, I would just buy SMH and try to understand it a little bit better than I do right now versus picking individual names, because you just don't know. Like if you picked ASML and just assumed, oh, ASML is in the semiconductor name, ASML is going to have a ton of demand because NVIDIA has all the chips, blah, 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 blah. And then you bought it and then you're down like 30%. And you don't realize that ASML is this very unique, idiosyncratic thing with how they have demand for the machines that design the chips. Like it would have been better to just go long SMH versus ASML. So TSMC, I don't know enough about their business, but I do think that their demand's not slowing down anytime soon. But as an individual stock, it's just not that exciting given the run that it's had right now as well. Hey, Amit, why do you shave the front of your head? Is some Indian tradition? No, I don't. This is just how my hair is. This is the nature of there's this thing where people say if you can put 4 fingers from your eyes to your forehead, you have a big forehead. I can definitely put 4 fingers. So I definitely think I have a big forehead, I guess. And by the time I'm 50, this hairline's going to be even further back. And so we're going to have to figure out my style at 50 when I'm bald, bro, because I have a small head. So, like, the hair makes my head feel less small, but, like, trust me, my head is not that large. So when I'm bald, I'm going to have to figure out how the hell I'm going to still be able to present myself with the market open. Because, at 50, we're still going to be doing the market open. Amid selling any hood puts today. Actually, let's look at the hood puts. I was thinking about that today. I don't even. Wow, 2408 on hood. That first buy of 100 shares might get triggered at 24. It might get triggered at 24. 2408. Sorry, it's not 100 shares. It's 200 shares. So there's a 200 share limit price at 24. Let's see if we get triggered on it. Let's see. Okay, so the put price is, so if I wanted to sell a put for November 29th at $22, you would be getting a 3.7% return. It's not bad. And look, 22 is way better than 25. If you wanted to sell it at the money at 23.5, you would be getting a 6% return a month out. This is the fun thing about selling puts. If you know a company and you're more than happy to pay 23.5 for Robinhood, and you're like, all right, if it gets there, give it to me. If it doesn't get there, then whatever. I'll keep the premium. You can get paid $142 right now to sell that 23.5 put for November 29th. For November 1st, which is tomorrow, still some decent premiums at 23 or 23.5. Those puts are up 100% today, which makes sense given the stock is closer to that level. All right, let's see. 2405. I think I'm going to get triggered on that sell or on that buy at $24 for the first 200 shares. Let's see if it happens. Shouldn't we wait for election results? Things seem volatile for a reason. Yeah, I'm personally buying on the dip today because of like my own personal conviction, and these are the prices I like. But yeah, I definitely think if you're a little scared of the election, it makes sense to wait. There's no reason to. It's not like this is the deal of a lifetime before the election, unless the election goes so well from the market's perception that everything just pops up. But given we're up so much, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I think waiting is fine as well. When does the interview you recorded the other day come out? It comes out today, 7 p.m. Podcast today comes out 7 p.m. I think you guys will like it. And I think you guys will really like it. It'll be a good one. You guys. And this is one I would say to listen and to like, actually like, just like kind of have your ears open to it, right? And not just play it in the background. This is one of those that I think the guest and what he talks about, I think is really important, and you guys will enjoy listening to it, and you will have a lot of insights to give you. Okay, limit was purchased. We now got 200 shares at 24. Boom. Limit order was indeed conducted. We now have 100 shares at 24. There you go. Your order to buy 200 shares of Hood has now been executed at 24. There's the 20 shares right above the 200 shares at 24.33. All right. Now, look, some people might be saying, hey, Amit, if Hood's in a downtrend, it's going to go lower and lower, then why are you buying the dip at 24? Wait for 23.50. Look, I agree with you. That is a reasonable thing to assume. However, I also have to have the humility to say, I don't know where the hell this stock's going. And as a result, and no one does. And because no one does, you kind of can't time the best time to get into the dip. It might jump right back up to 24.50. It might go down to 23.50. This is why I wouldn't buy all the shares I want to buy at one certain level. You would kind of spread out your limit orders, but you just don't know, right? And I think 28.50 yesterday to 24 is a hell of a decline. It's a decline I'm willing to buy. And if it goes further down, I'll buy more. But it's not one of those things where I'm just waiting until it keeps going down, given I think it's already gone down a lot. So let's see. The next limit order is at 23.50, and we'll see if that one gets triggered as well. DJT at 35.73, NVIDIA 133, SoFi 1106, QQQ 46, Palantir right below 42 again. So 41.71 now, it's down 4.5%. So that green candle we had is turning into a little bit of a red candle here. 7 p.m. Eastern, the interview is coming out, 7 p.m. Eastern. Am I interviewing my boyfriend? You're funny, Bayray. You're funny. You're very, very funny. Would you buy Palantir if it hits 40? No. I like 35 to me is when Palantir gets exciting. Like it's not. I haven't been buying from 40 in the 40s at all. So I think it has to really normalize 40s for me to be wanting buying there. And look, this is different from not buying Palantir at 27.28 because the multiples are just different. Like at 27.28, was it expensive still? Sure. But the multiples were not the multiples that we have today. It was not a 40 times price to sales, right? I think it was more so like 15, which is expensive, but 40 is like expensive, right? And so I just want to wait till earnings. I want to wait. Do I really think after earnings we go to 50? Like, no. Like after unless the earnings is an NVIDIA quarter, I don't think we're seeing 50. And so if that's the case, if there's a better shot we hit 35 or 37, 38, then I'd rather wait for that. See, the difference between this and Robinhood is I really thought Robinhood has a chance to hit 30 on earnings. And that's why I was buying at 26, 27, 28 as well, along with the fact that the multiples between Robinhood and Palantir are just fundamentally different. The problem is this stupid contra revenue thing that I didn't take into account. That's what messed up my project. If I took into account those projections, I would have been expecting 630 million in revenue. Instead, I projected 654. And that's what messed things up. With Palantir, they're saying expect 703. I'm expecting 730. A beat above 730 would be amazing. A miss below 700, which Palantir is not going to do, would be very bad. But anywhere between 700 to 730 would be a quarter. And I don't know how the street's going to necessarily react to that. So we're going to have to see kind of where it goes into. What do you think is a good price to buy the dip on SMCI? I don't think any price is good, dude. Their accounting firm left. Like, that's crazy, bro. If their accounting firm leaves, like, it's one of those things where you just sit and wait. You don't need any limit orders on SMCI. You wait until they get a new accounting firm, dude. Like, also, whoever they hire, they're gonna have to publicly sign off that SMCI is a legal, ethical company with no books that are cooked. And who's willing to take that reputation? Is it Accenture? Is it PwC? Is it KPMG? Like, who's ready to actually disagree with Ernst & Young on this? Where's Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin down below 70? Is Bitcoin still holding 70? Or is Bitcoin getting hit? Bitcoin is at 71. We did touch 70 at 10:20. And then it rebounded. Now it's going back down. Bitcoin falling is the last domino because, it's hard. And I was saying this yesterday on the market close. It is very hard. If you're calling a top to the stock market, you better be calling a top to Bitcoin. I am willing to bet my life that Bitcoin does not go to 100,000 if the stock market falls 10, 15%. It's just not happening. It's not happening. There is no flight to safety in Bitcoin. There is no level of the market that says, we're going to protect our money in the most volatile asset on the planet that is only being held up by Michael Saylor and Larry Fink. Retail is not back. Robinhood's crypto volumes and Coinbase's crypto volumes are very obviously showing retail doesn't care about Bitcoin. Retail cares more about NVIDIA than they care about Bitcoin. So if the market falls 10%, 5%, Bitcoin's going back down into the 60s. And that would suck for everybody because people have been really happy that we got above 70, but we kind of need the NASDAQ to hold up at this point. Otherwise, we get hit. Amit, what's your opinion on fund managers charging you 1% for year or just doing it yourself? So I think the self-directed custody of assets is a trend that is going to go higher. In fact, it is a reason why people, come to the show in the morning, right? Because it's why people follow people on Twitter and YouTube around finance, because people are self-directing their own capital and they want to get some information and content from the marketplace on how they should be thinking about their capital. So to me, more and more people are finding out that giving a fund manager 1% to invest in Apple, Amazon, and NVIDIA, when you could buy the Qs yourself or any three of those stocks yourself, doesn't make any sense. The only way I would justify 1% to a fund manager is if I'm sitting on so much money that corporate bonds, preferred equities, all these other instruments, credit swaps become available, which the more higher net worth you get, the more these things become easy to invest in. And you can protect a lot of the money while still getting a yield that is competitive with the S&P 500. That's where I think a financial manager makes a lot of sense. if they're just going to invest in the S&P, it's like giving 1% of your gains to them is like weird at that point. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Microsoft's down 6%. Okay, so Microsoft, we thought the bottom was down 5%. Microsoft right here. Yeah, Microsoft's down 6%. Microsoft below 400 would be bad. Microsoft below 400 would be bad. So let's hope that doesn't happen. If that does happen, that's a repeat of the last quarter, right? When they fell to 385. Now they rebounded really quick, but down 6% would not be fun. While I play with a small portfolio, the 1% is nothing if they make me money. Yeah, so that's fair. Look, giving someone 1% or 2% is nothing if they make you money. But then you got to ask yourself, how many fund managers actually outperform, right? It's just not a lot of them. It's just like, unless they're doing something super risky with it. Like it's like, and a lot of times when they do something super risky, it doesn't work out. I remember I told you guys that story where I was with one of my family friends. We were at a party in our neighborhood, and he was really depressed because he told his financial advisor to not invest in individual stocks, and if he would do it, to not be risky. And the dude YOLO'd a decent amount of his, I think 401k into Intel at 30. Intel went to 18, and so I could just tell the look on his face, dude. He's like, I was like, you should be able to sue him, dude. Like if there's some written communication of saying, don't do this, and then they do this, like there's got to be a way where you can like say something, because that's ridiculous, right? Which is why it's so hard to manage money. Unless you have the full authority, like Kathy would, to do whatever the hell she wants with the money you put into ARK, which is why you can't sue Kathy, even though she's underperforming, because like you're the one who invested in the ETF, then there's got to be some guardrails and guidelines. And maybe AI does a better job than a lot of these fund managers as well. Uber is at 71, down 9%. Did he sell at 18? No, but that would be worse, dude. If he actually sold the Intel at 18 and now Intel's at 22, that would be a lot worse. So I hope that didn't happen. The 10% of the S&P makes is above average compared to what fund managers return. Yeah. Didn't Warren Buffett have that famous challenge where he would give people $1 million if they could beat the S&P? I forgot the challenge, and over the course of a couple of years, like no one beat the S&P. So like like Buffett tends to beat it every year. I think Ackman has beaten it over the past couple of years. Druckenmiller tends to beat it. But a lot of the other people, I mean, it's tough, dude, especially when you're managing billions. Like it's not easy to meaningfully beat the market, because the market's tough to beat. Okay, cool. Why are we getting cooked? Honestly, I don't know. I think it's Meta and Microsoft. It's not macro data. It's not inflation. It's not jobs. Honestly, not sure. I feel like it's Microsoft and Meta, but that's not a super important reason for them to tank the market. It's not the carry end trade is what I'm trying to say. This is earnings that, maybe weren't the best, but were definitely not bad. These were not, they had a double beat. This was not a bad earnings. It just wasn't that amazing. And as a result, you got the market, taking down some of these stocks. Robinhood above 24 again, 24.09. Again, my next buy gets triggered at 23.50 if we get there. But you got 24.09 on Hood. Meta right here at 5.76 on the day. Unless you are swing trading, why sell? FOMO trying to get in lower, a losing strategy. Why not hold and even buy more at these lower prices? This might continue down 2 to 3 times over the coming days. Yeah, I agree. Look, if you're long-term, selling is always usually bad if you're long-term. Like even selling in 2022 didn't make sense. Unless you sold at the top in 2021, just buying and continuously DCAing and compounding into quality is what works out over the long term. So if you're not that concerned with swinging it, then obviously the long term makes a lot more sense. HIM's also getting messed up right here, down 1%. Let's see some headlines. We got going on, and then we'll be out of here. Evan, let's see what Evan has on his profile. Ford has started shipping a new adapter that will enable access to the $17,800 Tesla or 17,800 Tesla supercharger locations in the US and Canada. That's good. Comcast is exploring the separation of their cable business to have a new company for cable. Interesting. Cable, again, is dying, but there are some people that still have a ton of cable. We talked about unemployment, 216,000 versus 230. PCE was good. Seems like those are kind of the main headlines we got. Do we have the jobs report tomorrow? I think we have the overall payrolls tomorrow, the non-farm payrolls. Tomorrow is November 1st. Dude, tomorrow's November. That's crazy. Tomorrow's November, bro. Holy crap. November. Yeah, we have non-farm payrolls at 8:30. All right, I think I'll be live at 8:20 tomorrow. That's a big one. Market is expecting 113,000 jobs. The forecast is 180,000 though. So okay, so sorry, it's 180, not 113. So if we have more than 180, that's a beat. If we have less, that's a miss. And I don't know how the market's going to interpret a beat or a miss right now, to be honest. Yeah, those are some of the main headlines. Those are pretty much the main headlines. That's what we got. This year went by fast. Yeah, this year went by very fast. Very, very, very fast. That's for sure. SoFi actually has a PE now. Yeah, so SoFi and Hood. I mean, they have their trailing 12 months profitability. Robinhood is eligible for the S&P 500 next year, which could be a massive tailwind as well. So if they keep executing, that can do very well. Yeah, dude, we're going into November, man. That's crazy. 11 months into the year. It's been a hell of a year. It's been an exciting year. We got to end out the year now. Election. I don't, like, every time I think about the election, I get goosebumps. I'm going to be live probably, I think we'll start coverage at like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And we're just going to be live until probably 4 or 5 a.m. Hopefully we get a result by 2, 3 a.m. Maybe I'm a little skeptical about that. I was watching a ton of different videos yesterday in terms of the polling. Trump needs to win Pennsylvania. If he loses Pennsylvania, he has to win a bunch of other states that are very tough to win. That's why I think Elon is like in Pennsylvania every other day, because they know if they miss Pennsylvania, they've got to flip a couple other states, which are going to be tough. So I think Pennsylvania is going to be the story of this election. And then once that's done, we move on to the rate cutting cycle, which hopefully happens after the election. And then you've got the end of the year. And that's it. And that's it for 2024. That is officiated. Happy Diwali as well to everyone who celebrates Diwali. Happy Diwali to all the Indians out there that celebrate it. You know, New Jersey passed a law where usually in Diwali, it's kind of like you have like fireworks. It's not as big as July 4th, but it's like a festival of lights and stuff. And I asked my mom, are we doing any in the neighborhood? And she said, no, New Jersey banned it because there were too many like fires in New Jersey. So they banned it. So there's going to be no like fireworks in New Jersey when it comes to Diwali. Kathy would sell more Palantir. Yes, she did sell more Palantir. Money managers take 1% of AUM, not even earnings. If you are down, you still pay. Wow, I didn't know that. So if you're down, they still take 1% of your AUM. So you could imagine if you have $5-10 million, right? Money managers can make a lot of money just off that 1%, and they don't even need to perform if it's not a question of earnings, but just AUM. All right, that's it for me, folks. We are done. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'll be back on the market close. We've got Apple, we've got Amazon, and we've got Intel. It's going to be a big, big, big market close today. Those are three major companies. We round out big tech earnings. And then after that, we move forward and we get into next week with the election. All right, that's it. Let's do word of the day. And, oh, this is a weird ass word, dude. I don't even want to try to pronounce this. What is this? See, it's an abnormal or extreme fear of Halloween. They don't even have the volume thing to learn how to say it. That's how bad it is. Samanophobia? Sowinophobia? Hold on. Let's see if Google has this. It's an irrational fear of Halloween. How to say... Okay, we got YouTube. Here we go.
Pronounce this name, as well as how to say more interesting phobia names. This is the phobia, the fear of Halloween, also known as Samhain. So, Samhainophobia.
Dude, what the fuck is that, dude? There's no way that's a real word, bro. What is this?
Also known as Samhain. So, Samhainophobia.
Even this guy couldn't say it, bro. Even this guy was like kind of weird with how he's saying this. Hold on.
Halloween, also known as Samhain. So, Samhainophobia.
Unless there's like two parts to that word, there was a little pause in the first part of what he said, and that made it feel like he was re-saying it. This is such a weird word, dude. All right, well, this is why we do word of the day. So for Samhainophobia, if that's how you say it, it is an irrational fear of Halloween. So if you use this today, someone's probably going to look at you a little weird, but that's the word of the day. And that's how we say it. See, there's all these YouTube channels dedicated to pronouncing stuff. And sometimes we got to go to them to figure out how the heck to say some of these words. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I'll be back for the market close. Apple, Amazon, and Intel. I'll see you guys then. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.